Toast Bites Chomp.
Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Toast Bites in 2020, where we take a look at some fantastic indie games I played that didn't get a standalone video on my channel. A link to each game is in the description, along with a hidden gem, and you can check out more episodes of Toast Bites by clicking the playlist at the end of the video. Let's get into it!
Number 1.
If you're a longtime fan of Toast Bites, you know that all the games I highlight are games I actually played myself, and it's my own footage I show, minus the occasional snippet from promos. So Book of Travels is an unusual entry because I haven't played it. I had stumbled across the Kickstarter campaign, which was beyond successful, and I fell so in love with the artwork and soul of the game that I was legitimately sad there was no public beta. It's an online multiplayer RPG, and I didn't say MMO because it's not. It's a TMO, T meaning tiny, and I think the devs summed it up best by calling it a social, role-playing experience. Unlike your typical ORPG focused squarely on restrictive quests, a linear narrative, and the like, Book of Travels is more of a solo affair where you freely traverse the immaculately hand-painted world of the Braided Shore. Gameplay is open-ended, with no distinct goal beyond organic discovery, uncovering the land's secrets through exploration, and forging relationships with other travelers along the way. There's an emphasis on personality traits rather than stats or builds, as you can customize your character in more intimate ways, like choosing their backstory. The game also doesn't hold your hand, telling you where to go to learn more about the world. You just have to go out and live, according to your own personal playstyle. And there are still the kind of mechanics you'd expect in an RPG, like skills and abilities to learn, and you can trade and craft, but there are unexpected elements that make the game special, like incorporating the emotional impact of what you see and do into how your character evolves and into the mechanics themselves. Now, since I haven't played Book of Travels, I can't filter it entirely through my own lens, so I'll end this entry by listing a few stated features. There's no text chat, only symbols and expressions you unlock as you go, and while there are no explicit quests, there are plot lines to follow, and there will be random events that encourage you to seek out new places or make decisions on the fly to unveil more of the lore. Events are also conditional, like a character only appearing in this place, in this weather, at this time, so every player will have their own story to piece together in their own time. As for the multiplayer, it really will be tiny, with only a few players per server to give each encounter more weight. It's tailored for collaboration, not PvP, and while you can play alone to your little heart's content, there are things called endeavors that require a group, so it's worth it to make friends. And there's a lot more to Book of Travels than I can cover here, and it's still evolving, so I recommend it if you're looking for a refreshing take on roleplay. The game is set for public release sometime this year, with a closed beta in the works, and you can check out all the details for this beautiful title on Kickstarter and add it to your wish list right now on Steam.
Number 2.
Atma is a colorful pixel art adventure set in what looks like an Eastern/Indian-inspired world. In it, you play as Shaya, a guardian of the balance between the living and the dead, who sets out on a journey to grant the final request of her lover, the titular Atma. Progress is linear without feeling generic or bland, due in large part to the mechanics, as you use one of few abilities called mantras to solve puzzles and traverse the world. Drawing the mantras requires timing and aim, especially in combat, but don't expect a steep learning curve. It's challenging enough to entertain and not frustrate, and the devs did a great job of setting you up right from the beginning to understand how things work while still introducing new puzzles along the way. The aesthetic is punchy and vibrant, with lovely art, varied environments, and detailed animations. The sound design is relatively thoughtful, the music complements the tone of each area well, and despite the game's length, there's an actual story with dialogue and 2 possible endings. And I mention length because the game, like this entry, is short. It clocked in at around 45 minutes for me, but it was worth every second I put into it, so don't let its playtime turn you away. Atma is a fairly polished little gem I fully enjoyed, except one tiny puzzle involving a moving raft that needs to be tweaked. Best of all, the game is free, so you have no excuse not to play it. You can download Atma right now on itch.
Number 3.
I try to jot down my thoughts on bites-worthy games I play while the experience is fresh in my mind, so I can give you a detailed review. Unfortunately, I played all of these games months ago, so I may not remember every little nook and cranny I dove into. What I never forget is the quality of a game, or when a game catches me by surprise, and Dreamscaper definitely sparked my joy out of nowhere. I'm not sure how to describe it, so I'll use the developer's words and call it a roguelite action RPG, though even that may sell it a bit short. You play as Cassidy, a complicated youth exploring both the waking world and the world of her dreams, with your actions in each affecting the other. In the waking world, which has kind of a low-poly aesthetic, you explore Cassidy's town and build relationships in ways that aid you in the battles to come, with the main hub being her apartment that evolves along with you. In the dream world, which offers a more detailed top-down perspective of environments resembling semi-realistic miniatures, you face off against the darkness evading Cassidy's mind with a host of satisfying weapons and abilities. The demo I played took place mainly in the dream world, so this entry is focused on that. And the Dreamscape plays out on a grid in Cassidy's subconscious, like a Freudian dungeon crawler, with each square offering a surreal glimpse into her memories. Some paths are open, some blocked, some locked, and you reveal more of the Dreamscape as you explore each area, uncovering new story beats, engaging new puzzles, and rushing headfirst into anything from merchants to boss battles. There's a bit of strategy involved, choosing where to go and when to backtrack, since some areas require keys or specific resources, so it's helpful that each area you clear is marked with a symbol representing its contents. You can also fast travel directly from the map. The big draw for me was the combat. The enemies are shaped by Cassidy's feelings, both in design and attacks, making them unique reflections of the emotional struggles she tackles throughout the game. And while some enemies were easier to down than others, every fight required concentration and skill, with a mastery of timing necessary to properly counter, dodge, and deflect attacks. Along with a variety of weapons sporting different stats and attributes to adjust your combat style, you can use special powers to control the environment, and even time itself. There's also a range of modifiers you can equip to create different builds for your character at your leisure, and the upgrade system is fair and intuitive. The game is meant to be played with a gamepad, so I use my Xbox One controller as usual, and it felt so good to play. And that's one of those tangible attributes a lot of indie games don't get right, and Dreamscaper nailed it, which is really important for a game this combat heavy. Overall, it's simplistic in function, yet so creative in its presentation that none of my descriptions will live up to you playing it for yourself. The Dreamscape is pretty, the combat is addictive, the options are robust, and the only reason I stopped playing was because the demo ended. Dreamscaper is set to release early this year on PC and Nintendo Switch, but you can download the demo right now on Steam.
Number 4.
World of Horror is a twist on the classic RPG with an early Mac 1-bit aesthetic made as homage to the works of Harumangaku no Ito Junji desu, better known as Junji Ito, the Legend of Spooks. In it, you play as one of several characters dropped into a small Japanese town beset by otherworldly forces, and you'll have to uncover its mysteries to survive. As you explore, you'll gather items, search for clues, and make impossible decisions, while triggering curious events and encountering people with questionable descriptions that make you uneasy because you're pretty sure they're evil and should die. The game features branching stories woven around the various characters you play, and retro RPG mechanics like skill checks to perform certain actions. You have unique abilities like spells to cast, you can level up, gain allies and perks, and even track the status of the town around you. Combat is turn-based and layered, with a number of actions available to fill your action meter depending on your items and progress, and it can all seem overwhelming at first, but the UI is well designed, cramming a ton of information into a tiny space in an unobtrusive way that allows the visuals to shine. Speaking of which, the stark grayscale artwork is phenomenal, balancing crisp details with jittery animations that, coupled with the story's ominous exposition, managed to creep me out and even jump scare me more than once. And there isn't more to say about World of Horror besides don't underestimate it. It's an atmospheric, story-rich, solid, and unsettling game full of pure, menacing fun, and it's worth playing over and over again. And the full game is slated to release late this year on PS4, Nintendo Switch, PC, and Mac, with early access coming to Steam in late February. But you can play the latest demo right now on itch.
Number 5.
Sometimes I enjoy a game so much that it alone prompts me to hurry up and finish my next episode of Toast Bite so I can share it already. And while all of the games I've covered so far fit that description, Rosa Starcross was the first one in the bunch. I don't cover many traditional RPGs because their demos are stupid long, and you can't always tell, even from an hour or two, if they have anything interesting to offer that sets them apart. But Rosa Starcross hooked me out of the gate and held my attention the whole way through with its strong characterization, the intrigue of its story, the believable quality of its dialogue, and its unusual combat. I hate to compare things to other things because I like everything to stand on its own merit, but I suspect that anyone who loved Undertale for its narrative may really enjoy this game too. And since the main selling point of an RPG is its story, I won't spoil any of it by describing the characters or the world you're in beyond saying they're interesting and fully realized respectively. Instead, I'll talk about some of the mechanics. All the standard RPG fare is there, along with some pretty dope music and clean pixel art that's surprisingly expressive at some points. The standout, though, was the world travel and combat. Exploration requires some puzzle platforming using various abilities you unlock as you progress. And the combat is turn-based with an emphasis on enemy-specific blocking and parrying and timed directional attacks blended with Undertale-style minigames. You can't bullshit your way through it, guys. It takes practice and skill, which I love. Also, as far as I saw, there were no random encounters. Everything came together really well, and while I've mentioned Undertale twice now, Rosa Starcross doesn't seem like it's trying to be that. It has its own style and spirit, and I'm here for it. I only had 2 real issues with the demo, besides the fact that I didn't see the warning not to launch it directly from the client to avoid a soft lock at the final scene. A warning that should really be included in the demo itself, huh? But one gripe was that I wish the game would auto-target the last enemy left in a fight when attacking, because there's no other enemy to attack, so I shouldn't have to manually select them. The other was more of a preference, but the sequence at the end of the demo took way too long to advance the dialogue. I understand it was in time with the music, which is fine, but the music should have kicked in much faster. Nothing that breaks the game. I also don't know how I feel yet about the Animal Crossing style dialogue blips. They're fairly common in RPGs, but in this case I think they're pitched a bit too high. Regardless, I loved Rosa Starcross, and I want to see it unfold. And there's no estimated release window yet, keeping in mind that the game is being made by a single developer, Peyton Burnham, who will be launching a Kickstarter campaign soon, so keep an eye out for that. I finished the demo in under 2 hours, minus whatever I didn't get to see because of the soft lock, so it's a great way to spend the afternoon. Or the morning. Or the night. And you can download the demo for Rosa Starcross right now on itch. Now here's a quick look at some bonus games, and remember, some of the games I've mentioned are still works in progress, so what I'm showing you may not reflect the final release.
Bonus games.
Ça va pas! Celui qui a eu l'idée de mettre cet engin sur cette bagnole, oh, c'est un génie!
That's it for this episode of Toast Bites. If you like these games, or hated them, let me know in the comments, and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I'll be back soon with a peek at even more great indie games to share. Until then, help spread the word by tossing me a like, and I'll see you on the plate!